So we'll obviously crack on with the hurling action. So Cork versus Limerick taking place in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Massive game, obviously, in the Munster Hurling Championship. If Cork lose, that is them gone, done and dusted. And obviously Limerick, a win for them would obviously very much put them into the Munster final. A win for Cork definitely puts them back in the equation in terms of getting out. Matthew, do Cork have any chance here?
It's not like a Louth and Dublin situation where this game is just going to be over within half an hour or something like that. I think Cork have the players to challenge Limerick in some aspects of the game. But at the same time, the Cork performed nearly to the best of their ability in the Gaelic round last season. 76% shot accuracy, 77% or in and around that number, and Limerick still won. So that's the worry from a Cork point of view. But worth noting as well for the listeners, Cork have to win this game. A draw won't be enough. I've checked the calculations. A draw and a loss won't be enough. If we draw or lose, we're out at the championship. So these players have to step up. And this is the time to do it. There's no doubt about it. There's nowhere to hide now. But a bit of a caveat now for the Cork camp. Kieran Joyce, apparently, according to the Echo Live, he's going to be a doubt for this game. And that's a huge loss at centre-back for Cork. Colossal, more than anything. And I don't think Cork will win the game. I'll be just straight up and saying, I hope they do win it. But I just feel Limerick are just on another different planet to us at the moment. They're just an unreal team. And the thing is, though, if Cork played Limerick after the Clare game, I'd be more confident that Cork pull out a result in this. But the fact is, they came off the back of a Tipperary game where they absolutely were like perfection. And they performed brilliantly. So I just feel Limerick should win this game, and there's no doubts about that. But like the Cork forwards, they have to step up in this game. It can't be just Patrick Horgan. Alan Connolly needs to get more of the ball in this. Will they start Shane Kingston from the very start? Remains to be seen. Brian Hayes didn't perform probably to the best of his ability last time. Garth Fitzgibbon, will we start Ethan Toomey midfield, or will we go back to Tommy O'Connell? I just feel like the Clare game, Cork did a lot right. But I just feel at the last nitty-gritty stages, they did some things wrong. Conceivably as well, the sending off. And you could blame James Owens all you want. It was a red card for Sean O'Donoghue. I don't know what he's doing, stepping in front of Shane O'Donnell like that. There was no need for it. Cork can't have that stupidity in this game. It's as simple as that. No room for error in this. And even the goals that Doug actually highlighted on Sunday Game Highlight Show, Cork did play well and the intensity was there, but just lapses in concentration moments. The Shane O'Donnell goal and the David Fitzgerald goal in particular, if Cork mark their men like that and leave spaces, they will get annihilated by Limerick. And there's no doubt about it, because Limerick are a better team than Clare. So, yeah, it's going to be a hard afternoon for Cork. It was always going to be the case. Scenario or no scenario, Limerick are an outstanding team. I just feel that Limerick are just on a different level to us at the moment, that they should win this game. But it will be tight. I think it'll be about 3 points. Limerick will struggle at parts of the game because of Cork's intensity. Well, you'd hope their intensity. This is the time for Cork to put their intensity on the table here. This is their championship lives on the line. If they bow down and fold over to Limerick, like Waterford did to Clare last season, then it's going to be curtains. I don't think Cork will do that, though. I think it'll be a tight game. Limerick should win this by 2 or 3 points, but it's a crucial game for Cork. They need to step up sharply.
Yeah, is the worry though for Cork that like so often over the last couple of years they've played very well, like even going as far back as that qualifier game against Galway in 2022. Like I think that was the All-Ireland quarter final, and I remember like you had so many chances in that game, and I thought you played Galway off the park and still didn't come out and win the game. And then obviously last year in the Munster round robin, like there was so many games there that were so close. There was obviously a good few draws. You obviously had the Limerick game at the end, which I think if you had a won, you would have gone into a Munster final, if I'm not mistaken there. So, like, I mean, it was like with Cork, like you feel like they're doing so much right. They're giving so much. Like, fair enough. I think the Waterford game earlier in the year, or the first game of the championship, was the one game where Cork really weren't at it, and they got punished. There's no doubt about that. But like, you're looking at it and thinking Cork have been given so much. Like, is the worry that they've been given so much and not getting anything, that if they do, like, you feel like maybe there might be a dip in their performance coming up, because they have actually been playing quite well but not getting wins. Like, that is the kind of worrying part, I think, for Cork.
And it might drain a bit of confidence off the players, and I see what you mean there. But as far as I'm concerned, the damage wasn't done in the Clare game. I think Clare are an outstanding team, and to lose that by a point, anything could do that. To score 324 is an outstanding score to get in any game. The damage was done in the Waterford game in the first game in the group stage. Simple as that. Like, Cork should have beat Waterford. They're a better team than Waterford. And considering Waterford didn't perform to their utmost ability against Tipperary, that was a missed opportunity for Cork. So, like, it's a situation that I don't think the Cork public will turn on them for a poor performance against Limerick, because Limerick could do this to any team. There's no doubt about it. You just feel as well, and somebody made this point, I think on social media in the past few weeks. Limerick have won 2 games. This is, again, is clutching at straws, but is there a chance that Limerick's performance could dip as well? Considering they've won the first 2 games, the shackles might be off, and they might think to themselves, okay, we might lay off a small bit and then go over hell for leather in the Waterford game, in the last game in the campaign, in the Gaelic grounds in front of our home fan base against a Waterford team that we usually beat. That could be Limerick's mindset going into it. I hope it is, as a Cork fan, but I just don't think it will be. I think Limerick are just that sort of a team that don't let their levels drop. And John Kiley has a lot to answer for that. He's just an outstanding manager, and not only building such a great team around him, it's because of the temperaments of these players that they are so great. So I just feel Limerick will get over the line in the game in this one. But there is, the hope that kills you, Aaron. There's like, Limerick could drop their level. You'd hope so. You'd hope they drop their level just for one game. Just for one game to allow us back into it. But I just don't see it happening. I just feel that Limerick will get this way over done with, and then the Waterford game, they might play a second team and just feel like, yeah, we'll play the second team and they get to the Munster final and go ahead and win this game now. Like, it's just in Limerick's DNA. So I just feel Limerick will have enough for them, but it's vital that if Cork are to survive for their championship campaigns, they have to put 100% into this game. It's as simple as that. There's no backing out now. Every shoulder, every blade of grass, everything has to be put out in the field for these Cork players. And yeah, they have to go by Owen Cadigan's speech on GAAGO before the Clare game. If they provide more of that, there might be a chance that Cork pull the tables over in this. But Limerick are just an outstanding team. It's hard to look past them winning this game. But it will be a full house. Will the Cork fans get behind them? Will it be enough to drive the players over the line? You'd hope so. You would hope so. I just feel this Limerick team are just on a different planet at the moment, and there's a different, not just in talent, but in mentality as well. And I just feel that will get Limerick over the line this one.
Yeah, for Limerick though, like, we saw how well they were against Tipperary. Like, I mean, obviously they turned it around hugely against Clare, as we very well know, and how well they performed that day. But obviously against Tipperary, they were outstanding as well. Like, you have Aaron Gillane playing some of, he was hurler of the year last year, arguably one of the best hurlers in the country so far this year. Cian Lynch is obviously doing his stuff. You've got Cole Hayes, who's obviously back on the side, performing very well. Donegal Dálaigh coming off the bench. Obviously they won't have Peter Casey, but like, all in all, like, Limerick have so much firepower, and you just wonder, Cork defensively, in my opinion, have really struggled. They really have, in terms of conceding goals against Waterford, against Clare. Like, so many defensive lapses, and you just feel like Limerick are so ruthless. So it's going to be so hard to stop that very dynamic Limerick attack, I think.
What's going to be vital is who goes on who. Like, who goes on Aaron Gillane this one. I know we put Sean O'Donoghue on him last year, and it backfired badly. And I think, like, it's a tough one. Who actually goes on Gillane? Will we put Niall O'Leary on him? Will we put Rob Downey on him? Owen Downey? I would doubt Owen Downey will go on Aaron Gillane, considering he was only under 20 in the last few seasons, and there'd be a lot of pressure on the young lad. So, like, it's a difficult one. Who do you put on? And that's the $1 million question. Midfield is going to be a massive battle. Darragh Fitzgibbon has to have the game of his life. Ethan Toomey, will he go into the midfield? With Darragh Donovan, he's most likely going to be back for this game. So to put Ethan Toomey in that position with Will O'Donoghue, Cian Lynch, Darragh Donovan around the middle of the park, it's going to be a big game for him. And it's his second big championship encounter. I know he's been playing well for the Bars in the club championship, but this is a different ball game for him. Yeah, it's a difficult one, and I do see your point on the forwards and the defenders point there. And it's going to be even more difficult if Kieran Joyce is out of the team. And if Kieran Joyce is out of the team, what do you do then? Do you put Ethan Toomey centre back and put Tommy O'Connell midfield, or do you do vice versa? Do you put Tommy O'Connell centre back, what he's been doing for Middleton in the club championship? Remains to be seen again. Rob Downey, Jamie Callahan, you start him. There's so many, ifs, buts, and maybes about this. Whereas Limerick are so settled on their team, even with Darrell Donovan coming back in, and that could be the thing that pushes Limerick over the line as well. So I'm trying my best to G up the Cork players, and you're hoping that they go on and win it, but I just can't see anything other than Limerick win. Like Aaron Gillan, Garrett Hagerty, it's hard to Tom Morrissey. It's hard to see who from the Cork team actually goes on these players and gets the game of his life out of this. So yeah, it's going to be a difficult game to call. I just can't look past the Limerick winning this one.
Yeah, me neither. Like, I'm going to go for a 4-point win. I think for Limerick, I think they will be too strong. And as we know, like, they have the options coming off the bench. We saw on multiple occasions under John Coyley and Paul Kinnerk. If there are things that are going wrong, they'll find a way to turn it around. And I think it is the perfect scenario. Win this game, get into the Munster final, and then whatever happens against Waterford happens. They can rest and rotate, and they don't really have to worry about that game too much. So, yeah, going to go with a 4-point win for Limerick, but I do agree with you. I think it will be close. What points margin would you be looking at? 1 point? 1 point win for Limerick, 2-point win?
I'm going to go 2 points. 2 points to Limerick, but Cork have to produce something in this. If they don't, it could be a bit of a hiding. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing, because I think as a Cork fan, like, you can accept losing the game, like, by 1 or 2 points, because it is against one of the best teams in the country. That way. But I think if you were to get an absolute hammering, like, I think there would be massive question marks asked of Cork. In fairness, we'll move on to the Leinster Hurling Championship. We have 2 games to look at here: Dublin Antrim and Carlow Kilkenny. Obviously, I don't have the league table, unfortunately, but the Leinster Hurling Championship is absolutely wide open. You've got 4 teams on 3 points currently. You've got 1 team on 2 points. Antrim are on 2 points. I think it's Dublin, Kilkenny, Galway, and Wexford who are all on 3 points. So absolutely wide open. And Dublin Antrim, I mean, we'll have a bit of a chat about GAAGO and everything else and some of the controversies there that have been very much discussed across the board this week a little bit later on. But this game not being shown, which I'm very disappointed by, in fairness. Like, unfortunately, I won't be able to go to it. So I was kind of hoping to watch it. But like, it's a massive shame that this isn't on TV. But look, it's a huge game, because, like, whoever wins this takes a massive step towards getting out of the Leinster Championship. And I think it's going to be very close. Like, Antrim have given Dublin a fair good goals over the last couple of years. They came within a point of them in the league. They drew with them last year in the championship as well. So this should be a very competitive, close game. And, like, Dublin might be marginally favourites, but especially after Antrim beating Wexford, you feel like Antrim could nearly pull off the win here. They won't fear Dublin by any stretch of the imagination.
They won't, and especially after the Wexford game as well, they kind of felt that they beat a better team than Dublin. But at the same time, I think James Scahill made this point on the hurling pod with Paul Murphy and Will O'Callaghan on Off the Ball, that Antrim kind of find home comfort when the likes of Wexford and Dublin come to Corgan Park and they nearly beat them, or in fact beat them. You see that the league, Dublin got a last minute goal to salvage a result in that one through a high dropping ball, and Dublin were very lucky in that game. Like, I could see a shock happening in this one. I can. I think Antrim have the players to do so, and I do think the confidence is there after the Wexford game. I do think Dublin will win it, though, because of the fact they're at home. And Antrim struggle when they go to these grounds like Parnell Park, like Pearse Stadium, like Nolan Park, as shown in the Kilkenny game, where they got absolutely annihilated in that one. So I just think Dublin will have enough. I think it'll be about 5 points in the end. But I think Antrim will definitely put it up to them. And let's not forget with Antrim as well, even at the Wexford Park game last year against Wexford, Antrim only lost by, what was it, 5 or 6 points, I think it was, last season. So there is a chance, and they drew against Dublin and Corgan Park last season, so there is every chance that Antrim could pull off a result in this. Will it be on Saturday? I'm not sure. I just think Dublin will have enough to get over the line. I think Dublin are kind of a team that perform well in these games against Carlow, against Antrim, against Westmeath, against Wexford, where they do enough to get a win or a draw on them games, and they move on. And then Kilkenny and Galway, they flatter to deceive, and they're kind of on a level, kind of a pedestal. It's just hard to judge with Dublin, hard to judge with Dublin fans. Are they actually happy with this and things like that? But that's a discussion for another day. I just feel that Dublin will have enough in this one, but Antrim's test them all the way.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, because you get the feeling it's such an opportunity, obviously, with how certain results have gone. Obviously, with Galway losing, with Wexford losing, like you feel like Dublin have a massive opportunity to put themselves obviously through to or to take a massive step obviously and put themselves into the next round. You'd feel like with a big victory here. So you're going with a 5-point win for Dublin?
I am, yeah. And just as you mentioned that as well, there are only 2 games after this are Galway and Kilkenny. And Dublin historically do very, very poorly against those sides. So you feel like if Dublin lose this, they're screwed. So I just feel like Dublin, that'll be enough motivation to get them off the line. Whereas Antrim as well, they aren't at home. And the fact they have Carlow later on in the campaign as well, I just feel that will tip it towards Dublin's favour in this.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd go with Dublin as well. I think like it's one of them where against Galway maybe we could get something, but against Kilkenny I think will be very, very hard. In fairness to get anything, and yeah, like it is. Like there is a scenario the way things are going that either one of these two could potentially end up in a Leinster final, like with a win. It could set them up hugely. So that would be absolutely huge, no doubt about that. Other game, Carlow against Kilkenny. We've seen a lot of shocks, thrills, and spills in Leinster so far this year, but surely we're not going to get any of that this time here. Like, I mean, Carlow, to be fair, had a good cut of Dublin, had a good cut of Galway, but I mean, Kilkenny are different gravy and they're a different animal altogether. And even with injuries and everything else, you'd fancy them to be way too strong here.
Yeah, you'd expect Kilkenny to win the game quite comfortably, and it'll be interesting actually to see Kilkenny's team. What will they put out? Will Adrian Mullen come back in there? Will Owen Cody be there? Mikey Carey, Owen Murphy, all them players. Will Owen Wall get a start? Will Jordan Malloy from O'Loughlin Gales get a start in this team? So there's a lot of probably the biggest question is who Kilkenny will actually start and who will they bench and who will they give a chance to impress in the later stages of the All-Ireland Championship campaign. I don't think there's a question about the result. I think Kilkenny should win this comfortably. But I will say it is great that Carlow are getting showing on GAAGO, I think, because there is a complaint from Carlow fans in particular that their games against Dublin and Galway were only reports, and Carlow put up a Trojan amount of work in those performances in particular. And for that to be rewarded with a GAAGO appearance, I think it's great for Carlow hurling, and to win the Joe McDonagh as well last season is another big step towards that as well. But I think Kilkenny should win this relatively comfortably. I'm going to go 15 plus.
Yeah, and I suppose like that kind of brings me on to the next topic of conversation, really, which is obviously centered around GAAGO and obviously the controversy that surrounds it, obviously, since it was brought in a couple of years ago, or brought in really last year as a main sort of replacement, obviously, for the games being on Sky. And I agree with you. I think it's great that Carlow Kilkenny is on. We can watch it, and I think it's good that it's on GAAGO. I think it's a game that maybe would be good for GAAGO. I think Dublin Antrim will be a good game for GAAGO. But I think the big argument really is that the likes of Cork and Limerick, the likes of Waterford versus Cork, the likes of Cork versus Clare, as an example, like these games haven't been on free-to-air television. They've been on GAAGO. And as we know, look, GAAGO is obviously behind the paywall. You have to get a subscription, which I think is around about €80, depending on if you get the early bird package or whatever, it might be cheaper. But generally, it's in and around that for most people. And then obviously you factor in as well that obviously in a lot of parts of the country, certain people can't get access to GAAGO. Like, it's not accessible in certain parts of the country because of internet connection and everything else. And obviously the elderly don't always know how to work it and everything else. It's not exactly clear maybe for them. And I feel like in general, like when it comes to like your best products or the best things that you have available, you want to get them seen by the most amount of people as possible. And I think in the GAA, we probably do have too many, if we were to look at them as products, trophies, tournaments, competitions that are maybe not the best viewing for a casual fan. Let's say the Leinster Football Championship springs to mind as an example. Certain provincial championships, I think, are very one-sided. The Munster Hurling Championship is as good as it gets, really, in Gaelic games. Like, it goes down to the wire. There's so much on the line. Every game means everything, really. And you're very rarely ever going to get a one-sided game there. Obviously, Limerick Tipperary we did, but generally speaking, you very, very rarely will get that going into games. So, like, the fact that the best games are not getting shown on RTE, I do think is very disappointing, because for casual fans who, and let's not forget, like not every fan who watches hurling or football are going to be diehard fans. And I know this from people who tune into this channel sometimes, because they might be casual fans and they'll tune in for the odd game. Not everyone is diehard fans, so not everyone is going to pay for GAAGO just so they can watch every game. So I think you're missing out on casual fans as well, like getting to see a Waterford versus Tipperary and then being like, you know what, that was a great game, I'm going to come back for the next one. So yeah, where do you stand? Like, obviously a lot of talk on this on social media and everything else.
There has been, and a lot of people have actually defended RTE, and a few people have gone on about it and things like that. And what I will say, first of all, to defend RTE and GAAGO, particularly GAAGO, we actually watched the coverage. I think the analysis and the ideas there are actually one of the best that I've seen out of Sky, TV3 and RTE. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I think the analysts are really good. I think the reporters are good. Granny McIlwain's an excellent presenter. Dave McIntyre is very good at commentating as well. I do think GAAGO is a very good way to go, and the way they actually analyse games as well. I was at the Cork Kerry game, which GAAGO coincidentally were covering, and what the analysts actually did was they went all over the field to pick up angles in the game. I think Paddy Andrews, Breed Stack and Mark O'Shea were on then, and they were just looking all over the pitch saying, okay, this guy's on this, and things like that. And it was actually brilliant for the game, more or less. As for RT, there is a contract there, to be fair to them. They only are obliged to show 31 games or in around that across the calendar of Gaelic games, and that is in the contract for Gaelic games, and as well in the contract that provincial finals have to be on RT. And that's why the Leinster final and things like that. I know it's not the best for everybody, and it won't be the best for either of us too, because we know the results before going in. But that's the problem with the Leinster Council. They need to fix a problem with the Leinster Championship there. And as well as that, you have to think about other interests as well. There are other interests happening across the planet and things like on RT in particular. You have comedy shows. This weekend in particular, you have the Eurovision Song Contest, which Ireland are in the final, by the way. Shameless plug, best plug to Bobby Tug in that. But for GAA fans, I do get, and this is the arguments and things like that, I do get the arguments about online. People don't have online. I know elderly myself, I'm down in Cork, that do not have a Wi-Fi box, and they love Gaelic games, and they can't watch Cork and Limerick on Saturday evening unless they get a ticket to Páirc Uí Chaoimh, which, to be fair, is going to be impossible in its own right, because the stadium's going to be full. So you need to have clubs showing games on GAAGO. You need pubs to show GAAGO and things like that. I think there was one of my local pubs that actually showed a game on GAAGO, Cork against Clare, in the last few weeks, so maybe they have access to GAAGO. And what GAAGO actually did well was they gave free access to hospitals to put games on the TV there, which was great. I think it was great, to get the people that were obviously poorly in hospitals to watch these games for free. And I think that was brilliant in its own right. But the main point in this, if you're living in the hills of Mayo, if you're living in the Burren in County Clare, you are not going to get GAAGO and free-flowing Wi-Fi. That's the problem with it. And another thing as well, the cast button doesn't seem to work on the app either, which is annoying for some fans. I know it's annoying for me because I have to watch it constantly on the tablet or the laptop or possibly on the phone. I can't cast it on the TV, which is kind of a concern, but it's not a major concern, if you know what I mean. But from an RT standpoint, I think the way they advertise Gaelic games, I think, is way under par. And when you look over the last few weeks in particular, this is a prime example of this. The Saturday game is only coming back this season in 2024, this Saturday. Why couldn't they bring that in April sometime, when there was loads of games on and you could discuss other aspects of the week and things like that, news of the week segments and stuff like that, Sunday show, rather than cramming all of Saturday and Sunday's action in April? Why are you doing that? Like, it's just making the work harder for yourself. It's as simple as that. And another thing as well, I know I put out a tweet on this in regards to the football games on televised and things like that. Next weekend, across the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship and the Tailteann Cup, there are 12 games. 3 of them are shown on GAAGO, none on RTE. That's 25% of games are. To me, that is really, really poor in growing the game. And I look at towards another sporting organisation in this country, the League of Ireland. They have a platform called LOI TV. You can watch First Division games or Premier Division games all on that subscription service. I think it's relatively cheap as well. I think it's under €100 for the whole season to watch every single game that isn't on RTE or Virgin Media, which is a brilliant deal. And I think the GAA need to think of that as well. And you look at rugby, for example, the URC. You can't get away from it. There's Munster Connacht. There's games between Leinster and the Stormers. There was the Leinster game last weekend in Croke Park in the Champions Cup. You have Champions League games on in soccer. You could watch that anywhere on Sky Sports and things like that. Whereas with our own national sport and Gaelic games, for example, and you provide a brilliant example in the Leinster Championship, you cannot watch Dublin and Antrim on TV or GAAGO. And to me, that is a disgrace, considering the implications behind the games for Dublin and Antrim, both of them. I do think the way forward in this, if you're going to use GAAGO, which is a brilliant service, by the way, but it can be improved, I think show every single game. Show every game in the All-Ireland Championship, in the All-Ireland Hurling Championship, in the Tailteann Cup, in the Joe McDonagh as well. And I do think Clubber are doing very well on that. And what I would suggest as well for Clubber, try and show Christy Ring, Laurie Maher, Nicky Racker Cups, and as well as that, grow the game. Because Peter Fortune was on earlier, the Loud captain, and I posted that on my Instagram, and he was all over Twitter and providing a brilliant thread earlier today. And you might remember in Alliance League Sunday earlier on the year, he was on with Joe Fortune talking about the future of hurling. And it seems like ever since that show, RT or GAAGO haven't done anything to promote hurling in general. When you look at, and this is a prime example of this, last weekend, there was the Joe McDonagh Cup. There was a pretty empty schedule. There was 2 provincial finals, Wexford, Galway, Tipperary and Waterford. That was it in the senior competitions. RTE only showed a highlights package of 1 game, Leach and Kerry. They didn't show Westmeath and Down, and they did not show the other game involving Offaly and Meath. To me, like, that's a disrespect to the Joe McDonagh Cup. And you look at it, if RTE are going to show on the Sunday game all the Tailteann Cup games, that's an indication to me that they do not care about lower tier hurling, and they don't care about the Christy Ring, the Nicky Rackard, the Laurie Maher as well. I'm trying to grow it on my page. I try to do roundups and things like that of scores and things like that for the Christy Ring, the Laurie Maher, the Nicky Rackard. I try my best with the information I have been given. But it's just a shame that RT don't show these games even on highlight packages. It's almost like they don't care about these games. They're almost like, okay, Tipperary Tyrone in London is on in the Christy Ring Cup. Oh no, we don't care about that. We won't bother putting this on. We'll talk about, structures in cool camps this week on the Sunday game. To me, that's a disgrace. If you're going to show Sunday game highlight show the games. As Will O'Callaghan rightly said on X in the last few weeks and from Off the Ball, show the games. That's what highlights programs are for. Show them. It's as simple as that. And I think the game could be grown a lot better than it is at the moment, like rugby, like soccer. Take the leaf out of that book and drive on with it. That's my thing about GAAGO. There are some positives, like the pundits stuff on GAAGO, but there are the negatives, like, of course, the broadband and stuff like that, and the fact they don't show every game, which the LOI TV do. And I think that's something the GAAGO can take forward and improve in promoting Gaelic games.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think you nailed the head on it there. Like, and I think, yeah, like, obviously, because we saw Peter Fortune obviously coming out earlier, like loud hurler, obviously asking like why is there no promotion of the Christy Ring, of the Laurie Mar, of the Nicky Rackard? Like obviously the Tailteann Cup got its own launch day, whereas those tournaments unfortunately didn't get that. So it is very unfortunate. It certainly is going to rumble on. There's absolutely no doubts about that. And I do agree with you. I think GAAGO has a lot of good benefits. I think it does do a lot of things right. But I think the problem with it is that a lot of the time, we're still not seeing what we want to see. And I think this whole thing of, fair enough, RTE and it's a contract and everything else have shown certain games. But right, well, let's start a new contract then. Let's, you know what I mean, let's try and rectify the issue for, years ahead. And I know a lot of these deals and everything usually get done for 2-3 years or whatever, but I think it's something they need to look at. I think it's definitely something they need to look at because, as I was saying on Sports Show during the week as well, like I think football and hurling is going into a bad place. Like our best games are not being shown. There's certain games that aren't being shown at all. You've ticket prices going through the roof. You've some games that are completely one-sided, that are over before you even know it. So yeah, look, I think there is a lot for them to fix. In fairness, there are some lower tier games, so we'll just run through them before we finish up, because we've obviously been going on here for long enough. But the Christy Ring, you've got Derry versus London, Tyrone versus Kildare, and Wicklow versus Sligo. I think the big one that stands out there, really, Derry versus London. I mean, London have won 3 games on the bounce in the Christy Ring so far. So what a win it would be for them if they could pull this off and set up a bit of a grand finale against Kildare in a couple of weeks' time.
I think I haven't looked at the mathematics of this, but I think if London and Kildare both win this weekend, that's confirmed them in the Christy Ring final. And essentially, it is a dress rehearsal for the final in Croke Park. So, like, it is a big one considering London are away from home against Derry, a Derry team that did win Division 2B in the Allianz League. So, like it's going to be a tough one for the likes of Owen Shield, the likes of Ronan Crowley, Jack Goulding, who's been in very good form. But Cormac O'Doherty, he has to produce a very good performance for Derry to go on and win it. But I would fancy London to win the game. I think the momentum is there with them at the moment, and I do think London will go over the line. I think Kildare should beat Tyrone quite comfortably, and I think Sligo will have enough to beat Wicklow. I think Anthony Kilcullen's a brilliant player. Jordan Quelly Lynch is as well for Sligo, so I think Sligo will win that game, and you'd be looking towards London and Kildare final, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's a massive opportunity for London, in fairness, and you would fancy Kildare obviously to get over the line against Tyrone. I suppose looking down at the Nicky Rackard, then you've obviously got Mayo versus Armagh, Roscommon versus Donegal, and Monaghan versus Louth. What would you reckon with these ones? Like, I suppose looking at it there, Donegal are obviously in a very good position at the moment with 6 points. But to be fair, Roscommon are right on their heels, so like that's a massive game.
It is, and Roscommon definitely have a lot of confidence going into this one. They beat Armagh the last day up by just a point. They got a winning point in the last minute of the game, so they will go into confidence, and their tails will be up. But Donegal have some excellent performers at the moment, like Lee McKinney is very good. You have Jory Gilmore, you have Decky Coulter. So Donegal do have the talent to get over the line. I think they will do in the end. They should win this game, so that'll make it 4 wins out of 4. I would expect Mayo to be in the final with them. Like, they do have some good players from Turin for the club championship. They do have Cormac Phillips, who's an excellent hurler there. Like, I think Keith Higgins is doing a lot of work behind the scenes with the Mayo hurlers there as well. So I would expect Mayo to win that game. And Louth and Monaghan, that's, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that might be a relegation dogfight, that particular game. It's a tight one to call. I think Louth probably have much more experience at this level than Monaghan do. Monaghan only came up from the Laurie Mar, so I'd back Louth to win that game. So yeah, I'd expect Mayo and Donegal to win those games and get one step closer to the Nicky Rackard final.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think, I think both Roscommon and Donegal both in great places. You'd fancy Mayo obviously to win, and the winner of Donegal, Roscommon, will set themselves up brilliantly for a final potentially. Laurie Mar, you've got Fermanagh against Lancashire, Cavan versus Longford, and Leitrim versus Warwickshire. Obviously, as we said before, you don't get to see very much of these games, so it's very hard to preview them and everything else. But Fermanagh are going strong there at the moment, so you'd fancy them to continue that anyway versus Lancashire.
What's impressive about Fermanagh, like, a lot of people have gone on about Luca Bucuster and what a brilliant hurler he is, and he needs to be shown on RT and things like that, and that is true and things like that. And he is an excellent hurler, no doubt about it. But there are players that have stepped up for Fermanagh other than him. Dana McHugh has been outstanding in the full forward line, as is Sean Corrigan at wing forward. So there are players in the Fermanagh team that can turn it on at this level. So I'm going to go for Fermanagh to win that game. I'd expect Cavan to probably join them in the final. There are some good trends in Cavan at this present moment in time. But Canis Marr is coming from Kilkenny, so he adds a lot of experience from a traditional hurling county in Kilkenny. So I'd expect the two Ulster rivals, Cavan and Fermanagh, to get to that final in the end. And Leitrim against Warwickshire, I think, is the last game, as I said, that last game there. I expect Leitrim to win that game, so I'm going to go for Leitrim there. But I think Cavan and Fermanagh should make the final there.
Yeah, I think so as well, in fairness. Before we finish up then, in terms of player of the week in football and hurling and bet of the week.
In football, I go player of the week, player to watch. It's a tough one. I'm probably gonna go for Dara O'Boyle from Donegal. 2 goals so far in the championship. He has the capacity to fire, so I think he's definitely one to watch from a Donegal point of view. Just a word in the under-20s as well. Eamon Armstrong from Meath up against Kerry in the under-20s. Watch out for this guy playing a wing back for Meath. Definitely a guy to watch in the years ahead. And as for shock of the week, I'm going to actually go. I think it's worth putting a punt on Carlow beating Laois because of the history that Carlow have gotten the Tailteann Cup. So I'm going to go for Carlow. Well, I think Laois should win the game as a prediction, but I think Carlow is definitely worth a shout and winning that game. And as for hurling, I think for bet of the week or shock of the week, I'd probably go for Antrim to beat Dublin, even though I think they'll be the closest call, but I'm going to go for Antrim to beat Dublin to win the end. But like Antrim is definitely worth a punt. And for player to watch, it's tough. Probably go for Limerick player because of Peter Casey's absence. I'm going to go for Seamus Flanagan. I think he might produce the goods in Páirc Uí Chaoimh during the week.
Yeah, I think for me, for about player of the week in football, hurling, I think football, I'll go Stephen Campbell. Hurling, I think I'll go William O'Donoghue. I think both of them will both have big games. And in terms of, bet of the week, I probably agree with you as well. I think if there is going to be a shock, maybe Antrim beating Dublin, I think is one you could look towards because I do think that will be very close. And in football, it's kind of a hard one. I don't know what you get along for beating Kildare, but given Kildare an absolute free fall at the moment, maybe I'd look towards something happening there. But yeah, look, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up here. Matthew from the Gaelic Statsman podcast, thank you very much for joining me. Make sure to check out his podcast when you get a chance. And yeah, anyone who tuned in, if you could hit the like button and subscribe, that would be absolutely brilliant. We're closing in on 5,000 subscribers, so be an absolutely great achievement to get there very soon. So yeah, anyone who tuned in, we will catch you all in the next one. Oh, we're still here. We haven't left yet.